All right, ready to dive into something incredible?
Always.
Today, it's the extraordinary experiences of Raquel Sáez. She claims she's been experiencing mediumship, like seriously experiencing it, since she was a kid.
We're talking years of vivid encounters and get this, starting when she was only 7 years old.
7. Wow. To think at that age, most of us are worried about, I don't know what, losing our favorite toy or something. She's dealing with, as she describes it, this feeling of a presence, like someone's in the room, but you can't see them.
It's those early experiences that really shape our understanding of the world. And in Raquel's case, that world clearly extended beyond what most of us perceive.
She doesn't just talk about a feeling, though, this presence. She claims she actually saw an elderly woman. And hold on, it gets even wilder. Imagine being jolted awake at 2 in the morning by the radio suddenly blasting.
Sounds like something straight out of a horror movie. But for Raquel, this was real life, her reality.
It gets creepier, trust me. Objects randomly falling, hearing the key turn in the door when she knew she was home alone. I mean, come on, how terrifying is that?
These weren't just subtle hints from the universe. These were like full-on neon signs that something extraordinary was happening around her. And it makes you wonder, what's the explanation?
Get this. One time, a whole bag of oranges just explodes across the hallway in her childhood home. Later, she finds out that this elderly woman she kept seeing, a spirit she comes to know as Karna, used to sell oranges in that very building.
It's like, talk about a direct connection. Spirits often communicate in ways that resonate with their own personal history.
And like the universe was saying, hey, pay attention. But exploding fruit aside, imagine being 7 years old and witnessing books violently ripping themselves apart as if unseen hands were just tearing through them.
You know, those early experiences can leave an indelible mark. Makes you think about the power, the sheer force behind these manifestations, and the impact they can have, especially on someone so young.
The thing is, she kept it all bottled up for years, afraid of being judged, that people wouldn't understand.
It's a common thread, a lot of individuals, especially when they're young and experiencing these things, they suppress them. It's that fear, that lack of support that can be so isolating.
She even talks about battling anorexia during those years. It makes you wonder about the toll it must taken on her, both physically and emotionally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those suppressed emotions, they don't just vanish. They can manifest in so many ways, often impacting our well-being.
And yet, she says if she could go back, she would do it all again.
Really.
Wow.
That's what she said.
Which speaks volumes about her strength and the incredible growth she's experienced. Those years, as challenging as they were, they clearly played a role in shaping who she is today.
So we've established that Raquel's connection to, let's call it the unseen world, is powerful, but it's her perspective on reality that's truly mind-blowing. She's got this simple but profound statement. This is not our home.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does she mean by that? Like, are we all just playing a big cosmic game? Is this just a pit stop on some grand soul journey?
That's a question that has echoed throughout human history, hasn't it? The idea that our time here on Earth is temporary, that it's a place of learning and growth for the soul. It's a concept that many spiritual traditions have explored.
Okay, I get that that might bring comfort to some, especially those who've lost loved ones, but I gotta be honest, as someone who hasn't had these, let's call them extraordinary experiences firsthand, it's a lot to digest. It's that natural human instinct, right? You wanna see the proof, the evidence.
I hear you. A healthy dose of skepticism is never a bad thing. In fact, Raquel herself emphasizes the importance of self-discovery. Not just blindly accepting what others say, but figuring things out for yourself, coming to your own conclusions.
Love that. It's about personal exploration, not blind faith.
Yeah.
And speaking of exploration, Raquel talks about the soul choosing a body, almost like picking a character in a video game. Makes you wonder, do we have a pre-written script? Like, is everything already decided?
The age-old debate of free will versus destiny. It's a topic that's fascinated philosophers and spiritual seekers for centuries. And within spiritual circles, there's still a lot of discussion about it. Some believe in those highly detailed soul contracts, like you were saying, a blueprint outlining the lessons we're here to learn. Others see it as more fluid, based on our energy, where we attract certain experiences that align with our soul's growth.
So, kind of like selecting certain skills or challenges to, say, level up your character in a game.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
But even with this idea of a pre-life plan, we still have choices, right? We're not just puppets on strings, are we?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's that dance between destiny and free will. And while there might be a bigger picture, certain themes or lessons we're meant to encounter, we still have the ability to make choices, big or small. Ultimately, those choices shape our individual journeys.
So we've got the soul, we're making choices, learning lessons. But how does this play out in Raquel's life day to day? You mentioned she's moved away from individual readings and focuses more on group work, teaching now. What does her process look like when she does a reading?
Intention is key for Raquel. She emphasizes creating that receptive state, almost like fine tuning a radio to the right frequency. She prepares herself mentally and spiritually, sets the intention to be a clear channel for the information to come through. Quiet mind, no expectations, just allowing the energy to flow.
And it's not just about receiving info, right? Some of the stories you shared are, well, they're more than a little eerie, incredibly moving too, like the one about the mother who comes to her after her son's passing. During the reading, Raquel starts mimicking these specific hand gestures totally unconsciously, and it turns out those were the exact gestures her son would make when they played this particular game together.
It's moments like that that really highlight how mediumship goes beyond just conveying facts. It's about tapping into the energy, the essence, those raw emotions of those who've passed. It bridges that gap, between the physical and spiritual realms.
And we can't forget that other story, the one that sent shivers down my spine. Raquel starts sketching during a reading. The woman she's reading for in floored. Why? Because it's the exact image her daughter drew before she passed away.
Wow.
The stories are unbelievable, right? It makes you wonder, though, how does Raquel handle the emotional weight of all of this? To tap into that much raw emotion, it has to be draining.
You're right, it's not easy. It takes a toll. Mediums often talk about experiencing an energetic exchange during these encounters. They feel, often very intensely, what the other person is experiencing, whether it's joy, grief, you name it. That's why ethical boundaries and self-care, they're not just buzzwords. They're crucial in this line of work.
Speaking of ethics, that's something I've always wondered about with mediumship. If someone can theoretically access so much information, I mean, what's stopping them from, using it for the wrong reasons? Like, what prevents abuse?
You've hit on a really important point. It all boils down to integrity, having a moral compass and using those abilities for good. It's about respecting free will, obtaining consent, recognizing that these gifts aren't there to be exploited, but to offer comfort, healing, and connection.
In other words, honoring the spiritual realm, not trying to manipulate it for personal gain.
Exactly.
Raquel's journey really gets you thinking there are some big themes running through her story, like the profound role dreams might play as potential bridges to other realms. Then there's this idea that our thoughts and emotions, they're not just contained within us, they actually have a real impact on our reality.
Absolutely. It's like we're these walking, talking energy fields constantly interacting with the world around us.
And perhaps the most intriguing piece of it all, this idea that those unaddressed emotions, especially the ones we bury deep down, they can manifest as physical ailments.
It's a concept that's been around for centuries. It speaks to the interconnectedness of the mind, body, and spirit.
When Raquel talked about struggling with anorexia during those years she was suppressing her spiritual experiences, it really struck a chord with me. It's like her body was practically waving a giant flag, like, Pay attention, something's not right."
It's a powerful reminder that we can't just ignore our emotions and hope they go away. Often they find other ways to express themselves, and sometimes that expression, it shows up in our physical well-being.
So, how do we start to unpack all of that, those suppressed emotions? And more importantly, how do we begin to heal from those wounds, both emotionally and physically?
It's a journey, and it takes a lot of courage to delve into those shadowy parts of ourselves, the stuff we'd rather avoid. But thankfully, there are tools and practices out there that can help. Therapy, for instance, provides a safe and supportive environment to explore those emotions. Journaling, too, can be incredibly cathartic, giving you an outlet to release those pent-up feelings.
What about things like energy work? I know Raquel's a big advocate for energy healing modalities.
Absolutely. Energy healing can be incredibly powerful for addressing those energetic blockages that can manifest as physical or emotional discomfort. Think acupuncture, Reiki, or even just spending time in nature. These practices can help clear out that stagnant energy and restore a sense of balance.
It's like hitting the reset button, right? For our mind, body, and spirit.
Precisely. And the more we understand how interconnected those aspects of ourselves truly are, the more empowered we become to take charge of our own well-being.
So we've covered a lot of ground, tapping into our intuition, how our thoughts and emotions shape our reality, the importance of addressing those suppressed emotions. It's a lot to process. What's the key takeaway for our listeners? What's the one thing you hope they walk away with?
If there's one message I hope resonates, it's this: you are not powerless. Raquel's story, her experiences, her insights, they highlight the incredible power we each possess within. You have a voice, you have intuition, you have the ability to heal and create a life that's truly aligned with your soul's purpose.
It's about reclaiming that innate power, both spiritually and emotionally.
Absolutely. And that, I believe, is a message worth spreading.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we tap into that inner wisdom, that intuition?
Well, it starts with paying attention. Remember Raquel talked about dreams being like bridges to other realms?
Right, like those messages from our subconscious.
Exactly. Those recurring themes, those vivid symbols, they're often trying to tell us something. Keeping a dream journal could be a game changer. Just jot down whatever you remember as soon as you wake up.
Like a mental download first thing in the morning.
Exactly. You might be surprised by what emerges and those aha moments, those flashes of insight that seem to come out of nowhere. Those are often our intuition speaking too.
So it's not always a booming voice, more like whispers we need to tune into.
Precisely. Practices like meditation, spending time in nature, they can really quiet the noise and amplify those whispers. It's about creating space for them to come through.
So, less about waiting for a lightning bolt of inspiration, more about cultivating stillness.
Exactly. It's like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Start by paying attention to those subtle sensations in your body. That feeling of expansion when something feels right, or that contraction when it's a no go. Our bodies often signal us before our minds catch up.
It's like our intuition has a direct line to our nervous system or something.
Exactly. And then there are those synchronicities, those moments that seem almost too coincidental to be random. Like when you think of someone you haven't spoken to in ages and suddenly they call.
Okay, yeah, I've totally had that happen. Makes you wonder.
Right. Or you're grappling with a problem and out of the blue, you stumble upon a book, an article, a conversation even that has the perfect guidance. It's like the universe is orchestrating these little nudges.
So, how do we know if it's just a coincidence or a full on sign?
Pay attention to how those synchronicities make you feel. Do they evoke a sense of wonder, a feeling of alignment? Trust those nudges, those winks from the universe
Because maybe, just maybe, those seemingly random events are actually leading us somewhere.
towards our soul's purpose, towards our highest good. It's about recognizing that we're all part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
Which brings us to another big theme in Raquel's story, this idea that our thoughts and emotions, they don't just stay within us, they actually shape our reality.
Absolutely. This is where things get really interesting. We're not just passive observers in our own lives, we're active creators. Our thoughts, our beliefs, those deeply held emotions, they all emit a certain frequency, and that frequency attracts experiences that match it.
So if we're constantly dwelling on negativity, fear, scarcity, we're more likely to attract more of that into our lives.
It's like the law of attraction
Yeah.
in action. We're essentially putting in an order to the universe with every thought, every emotion.
And on the flip side, when we focus on gratitude, joy, love,
We raise our vibration and attract more of those experiences.
Mhm.
It's about recognizing the power of our own energy.
it's almost as if our reality is a mirror reflecting back what we're putting out into the world.
Precisely. Which brings us to that final and perhaps most intriguing theme that emerges from Raquel's story. The idea that those unaddressed emotions, the ones we try to bury deep down, can manifest as physical ailments.
Yeah, that really hit home for me, especially when she talked about struggling with anorexia. During those years, she was suppressing her spiritual experiences. It's like her body was crying out for her to acknowledge what her soul already knew.
Exactly. It's a powerful reminder that we can't just ignore our emotions and expect them to disappear. They often find other ways to express themselves, and sometimes that expression shows up in our physical well being.
So, how do we start unpacking those suppressed emotions? How do we begin to heal those wounds, both emotionally and physically?
It's a journey, and it takes courage to face those parts of ourselves that we'd rather avoid. But thankfully, there are tools out there. Therapy can provide a safe, supportive space to process those emotions. Journaling can be incredibly helpful, just getting those feelings out on paper.
What about things like energy work? I know Raquel often talks about the power of energy healing modalities like Reiki.
Absolutely. Energy healing can be incredibly powerful for addressing those energetic blockages that can manifest as physical or emotional discomfort. Think acupuncture, Reiki, or even just spending time in nature. These practices can help clear out that stagnant energy and restore a sense of balance.
It's like hitting the reset button, right? For our mind, body, and spirit.
Precisely. And the more we understand how interconnected those aspects of ourselves truly are, the more empowered we become to take charge of our own well being.
So we've covered a lot of ground. tapping into our intuition, how our thoughts and emotions shape our reality, the importance of addressing those suppressed emotions. It's a lot to process. What's the key takeaway for our listeners? What's the one thing you hope they walk away with?
If there's one message I hope resonates, it's this: you are not powerless. Raquel's story, her experiences, her insights, they highlight the incredible power we each possess within. You have a voice, you have intuition, you have the ability to heal and create a life that's truly aligned with your soul's purpose.
It's about reclaiming that innate power, both spiritually and emotionally.
Absolutely. And that, I believe, is a message worth spreading.
It's like Raquel's journey, her story. It's like a testament to the potential we all have inside,
It really is. And, it's not about having these extraordinary superhuman abilities. It's about tapping into that extraordinary essence that I believe resides within each of us.
which kind of leads us to the big question, right? If our reality, the way we experience the world, if it's truly as fluid and as responsive as Raquel suggests, what's that one small shift, that adjustment in our perception that can make the biggest difference in our lives starting today?
Ooh, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, I think it's deeply personal. There's no magic formula, no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right, everyone's journey is different.
Exactly. But if I had to offer a starting point, it would be this: cultivate a sense of radical responsibility for your own energy. Become really aware of your thoughts, your beliefs, those stories we keep telling ourselves, often subconsciously.
Because those stories, those narratives we replay in our heads, they become our reality, don't they?
They really do. If you're constantly in that loop of, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, not deserving of love, abundance, whatever it might be, guess what? You're likely to attract experiences that mirror those beliefs right back to you.
It's like we're writing our own self fulfilling prophecies without even realizing it.
Exactly. But the good news is we have the power to rewrite the script. It all starts with awareness, with that conscious choice to challenge those old stories and replace them with ones that empower us, uplift us, that align with the reality we want to create.
So it's about becoming the conscious authors of our own lives.
You got it. And listen, it's not about forcing toxic positivity or denying the very real challenges life throws our way.
Hmm.
It's about acknowledging those challenges, allowing ourselves to feel the full spectrum of emotions, but choosing to approach those challenges from a place of empowerment, knowing that we have the strength, the resilience, and yeah, even the support of the universe to navigate them with grace and ultimately come out stronger on the other side.
It's that shift, right? From a victim mentality to a victor mentality.
Precisely. It's recognizing that while we may not always be able to control the circumstances, we always have the power to choose our response.
And that response, that choice we make, that's where the true power lies.
You said it. And the more we align our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions with our highest good, with that which brings us joy, meaning, connection, the more we open ourselves up to a life that reflects that.
It's like Raquel's story reminds us that magic isn't just something out there in books or movies. It's woven into the very essence of our being, waiting for us to awaken to its presence.
In that awakening, that shift in perception, it's available to everyone. It begins with a single thought, a single choice, that first step towards your own potential, that extraordinary potential that's within you, waiting to be unleashed.
So, to our amazing listeners, as you go about your day, as you move through the world, remember this. What small shift in your perception will you choose today? What story will you choose to write for yourself? Because the pen, as they say, is in your hands.